Hey there! Today I would like to talk about the LabAhab pen. Now, you are wondering, what is a LabAhab pen? Well, this is a LabAhab pen. Now, you are thinking, that's an Ahab pen. What is he talking about? Well, it does indeed look like an Ahab pen, but there is one small modification, which is this two-tone nib. This nib is actually by LabAhab, Ahab, LabAhab pen. So this is my LabAhab pen. I didn't invent this. Someone contacted me via YouTube and said, you describe the LabAhab nib as being smooth, you describe the Kaweco nib as being smooth. What about putting either of these on an Ahab pen? Is that possible? And I thought, that's actually a pretty interesting idea. Now, the Kaweco nib you can forget, because you forget about that because it's too small. It will not fit on an Ahab pen. But the LabAhab nib is roughly the same size as the nib that comes with the Ahab pen. So you can put it on there, and you got yourself a nice large pen which you can use as a huge eyedropper converted pen, or with the converter or whatever, and it now has a very smooth nib. Of course, you will lose the flex because the Noodler's nib is designed for being flexible, and the LabAhab nib is not, but it is very smooth, and sometimes you just want a smooth writer and not a flex writer. And you can always interchange them, of course. So I suppose for many of you it will be fairly clear how to do the operation, but I'll show you. So I'm going to show you how to convert an Ahab pen into a LabAhab pen, and then I'll do a writing sample just to give you an idea of how smoothly it writes. And that's it. So I hope this was useful. Enjoy your LabAhab, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. Okay, how to do a LabAhab conversion? Well, it's very simple. You take off the cap, you take off the barrel. This one has a very tight barrel for some reason. My other Ahab does not. Okay, here we have the converter. You can leave that on. For now, I'll just take it off. Here's the breather tube. I recommend just taking it out for a second. And then here we have the feed and the nib, where you can just take them out. Grab them tightly, pull them out. Be a bit careful. Here we have the nib, an excellent nib, but a nib I want to exchange right now. Here we have the LabAhab nib. You can buy these separately without having to buy a pen on eBay. So do a quick search there and you'll be able to find them. LabAhab nibs. This, I think, is the LabAhab number 5 nib, because they come in a number of sizes. I think this is the number 5, I'm not absolutely sure. I've ordered a number 5, but this is the LabAhab that came with my LabAhab Scepter pen. Okay, so you put the nib on the feed. Now, how far do you put it? Well, that depends a little bit on how much flex you want. Of course, this is not a flex nib. In fact, this is a very stiff nib, so don't expect to get much flexibility out of this. A good rule of thumb is to try and align the shoulder of the feed to the shoulder of the nib. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a rule of thumb to get a good, positioning of your nib and the feed. Okay, then I take the grip section. The grip section has, you have to look, I'm not sure whether my camera will pick this up, but if you take a good look at this, you will see that there is one bit that is a bit wider, the opening is a bit wider than the other side. Well, the wider part, that's where the nib goes. I'm not sure whether you can see it on the video, but if you have an Ahab, you can check this out, and I'm sure you'll see this. Okay. I put that in, and we're done. So we assemble the pen again, put in the breather tube. There is a hole somewhere in the feed. There we go. I put the the breather tube in there. I'm going to use the pen with a converter, not an eyedropper converted pen. So I put that in. I take some ink. Let's use Lidete. I use the converter. Beautiful design here. I really like this. It's so simple and yet extremely effective. Holds a lot of ink, all you could wish for. I close the bottle of ink one-handedly. That is not particularly easy. There we go. I wipe excess ink of the grip section, assemble the pen again. As I said, this one is really tight for some reason. Nothing wrong with that, especially if you do an eyedropper conversion. It writes. Here we have the LabAhab pen, and that's all there's to it. So, flexiness is pretty much gone. You see, I can still attain a bit of line variation, but this nib is not nearly as flexible as the original nib, which is fine. You can probably see that both nibs are roughly the same size, which is of course why you can just interchange them. I think the Ahab nib is a bit rounder. It's a bit more rounded off. So far I've been using this conversion for quite a couple of days. I've not had any leaking. At some point there was a little bit of ink right there. So of course the pen is not made to be used with this nib, but there was no big leakage. It weren't huge drops of ink. There was just some ink on the feed, which also occasionally happens with fountain pens that are not converted like this. So that's why I always carry an ink cloth. You just wipe it off a bit and you start writing again. And as you can see, the writing is very smooth. I really enjoy the writing. So there you go. That's all there's to it. LabAhab pen. I hope this was useful. I hope you'll make your own LabAhab pen if you like. And that's it. So